families were there. The mother of Joanna Speaks, her name is Colleen. She spoke after. And then also the mother of Kristen Smith, Melissa. Now, Kristen Smith is not linked. There are two women that we've been reporting on the past. Kristen Smith and Ashley Real, who have been linked to Calhoun, but he has not been formally charged in connections with their murders. But they do believe that those charges may come about later.
Did we get any new information on those possible charges?
No, we asked them and we asked police, but they just gave us the same old, we can't reveal, any new details of this investigation. But yeah, I mean, he appeared in court today. It was a total of 2 minutes. He was wearing glasses, which we're not used to seeing him. We've seen old mugshots of him where he didn't look like himself. And
pull one up over here, actually, so you can, there is Jesse Calhoun right there. You see him on your screen. And Emily, what were, the emotions in the courtroom? A lot of these families, I know that they have been waiting for this moment, a lot of them.
Yeah, I mean, they've been waiting, like I said, over a year. This has been a long, drawn-out process. However, they did commend the efforts of law enforcement and said, even though it's taken a while to get to this point, that's how long these cases take sometimes. So, they definitely did thank law enforcement for heavily pursuing, getting justice for their daughters. Melissa Smith, Kristen Smith's mother, said the most, and she's always kind of been the one that has said the most. She's very passionate about getting justice for her daughter and for all of the daughters who have been linked to him. And then Colleen Speaks, Joanna's mother, also spoke. And I spoke with her in the past, Noelle. She is a little more soft-spoken. I think she's a little more numb about the situation.
I just don't even know how you can handle something like that.
Well, I mean, it just goes to show that everyone processes grief differently. They deal with things differently. I think sometimes family members show up to these court appearances and expect to feel something, some sense of closure, and sometimes that feeling doesn't come, and it's just a feeling of numbness. So, we definitely have some interesting sound from them that we are going to share in our broadcast today.
And then, Emily, thank you for this new information, by the way. When is he due in court next,
He'll be back July 19th.
And who knows, it could get pushed back or...
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yes.
And then, Emily, we have all this new information, but I do want to kind of run through the past because this has been over a year we've been following this case with Jesse Calhoun. So if you could just go over kind of some of the past, the timeline, I know.
Yeah.
Because like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, Emily has been covering this story for over a year, so you're very knowledgeable about the timeline.
Yeah, so in May, Calhoun was charged with the second-degree murders of 3 of the women. These 3 that you see, that's Cherry Lynn Perry to the left, Joanna Speaks in the middle, and Bridget Webster on the right. He's being charged with second-degree murder and abuse of a corpse. All 3 of these women's bodies were found in April of 2023 in wooded or abandoned areas and had been moved in the greater Portland area, so none of them were near each other. I'll give you an overview of the timeline, and then, of course, I'm going to talk about the 2 women that law enforcement say may be linked but don't have enough evidence to tie him to. So the first body that was found was that of Kristen Smith's. She is from Gresham. Her body was found in southeast Portland in February 2023. Joanna Speaks, her body was found April 8th at an abandoned barn in Ridgefield, April 8th, 2023. Charity Perry was found a few weeks later, April 24th, near Ainsworth State Park. And then Bridget Webster's body was found April 30th near Mill Creek, Harmony Road near Mill Creek in Polk County. And then Ashley Real, one of the women who hasn't been
linked
officially with Calhoun. Her body was found May 7th, also in southeast Portland, not that far from where Kristen Smith was found. So yeah, the 3 women that he is charged with, it's Joanna Speaks, it's Charity Perry, and it's Bridget Webster. And so I did speak with Joanna's mother. Kristen Smith's mother, again, hasn't been formally charged with her murder. Charity Perry, I talked to her mother last week. We have that on our website. We can give people the link to that. She wasn't able to make it to court today. And then Bridget Webster, I've spoken with her grandfather in the past, but her family has sort of been out of the picture since all of this started coming out. So it'd be interesting to see if, they did come out later on now that, they have someone officially charged, with with her murder. But you know, 3 of the families have been sticking close together, and those were 2 of the moms that we heard from today, and they said, you know, as horrible as this experience has been, they have been finding some comfort and some solace in one another, and just not having to go through this alone. So, you know, they did talk about the bond that they have, and, you know, just this passion that they have for fighting for justice for, you know, the 3 women, and then the 2 that haven't been formally linked to Calhoun. You know, they want answers as much as, you know, as much as we all do. So
no, it's horrible, like what these families had to go through, but at least they do have each other to lean on to for support, because it's kind of one of those things where it's hard to find people in similar situations.
Well, they said today, you know, unless this has happened to you, you can't possibly understand what we're going through. You know,
it's just horrible.
It is.
Well, Emily, thank you so much for tracking that at the courthouse today. Like Emily mentioned, we do have all that information on our website, KATU.com. There's a lot of stories, so if you do just want to refresh before Emily's story airs tonight, definitely just check out our website. And then, Emily, it's going to be at 4, correct?
Yep, we'll be on at 4 o'clock, and then a digital cast at 5 p.m., a digital show of K2 News. You can find that on our Facebook, I believe also on our X. I almost said Twitter, but it's X now.
I know. That one's hard.
So that'll be on social, but 4 o'clock on the airwaves.
Yeah, we have a little bit of a different schedule today, but I'll get into that later on the Digicast. Thank you so much, Emily. I know you have to go put that story together.
Yep.
We're looking forward to seeing that for sure.
Yep.
And then the next story that I wanted to cover here on the Digicast, this is an interesting one. So I'm gonna put this video on, and you're all gonna realize what I am talking about here. It's just down. That was really loud. Sorry about that if I blew anyone's eardrums out, because this is from the 70s, so the audio quality is a little bit different back then. But yeah, this is the exploding whale from back in 1970. And I am bringing this up because the Oregon State Parks, they made a post on Facebook today because, you know, there was that carcass that washed up on Nehalem Bay State Park. So they made a post saying that history is not going to repeat itself, and they will not be blowing up that whale. I just think it was very interesting that they had to address it, because there were some kind of rumors going around that they would be blowing up the whale. They're not, but, you know, I am bringing up what happened back in 1970. You just saw the video. It became known worldwide after KATU actually filmed and reported on it. But honestly, I think just watching our news story from back then is the best way to see it. So here we go.
The Oregon State Highway Division not only had a whale of a problem on its hands, it had a stinking whale of a problem. What to do with one 45-foot, 8-ton whale dead on arrival on the beach near Florence. It had been so long since a whale had washed up in Lane County, nobody could remember how to get rid of one. In selecting its battle plan, the Highway Division decided the carcass couldn't be buried because it might soon be uncovered. It couldn't be cut up and then buried because nobody wanted to cut it up, and it couldn't be burned. So dynamite it was, some 20 cases or a half-ton of it. The hope was that the long-dead Pacific gray whale would be almost disintegrated by the blast, and that any small pieces still around after the explosion would be taken care of by seagulls and other scavengers. Indeed, the seagulls had been standing nearby all day. As everything was being made ready, we asked George Thornton, the highway engineer in charge of the project, for his final observation.
Well, I'm confident that it'll work. The only thing is we're not sure just exactly how much explosives it'll take to disintegrate this thing, so the scavengers, seagulls and crabs and whatnot can clean it up.
Is there any chance it might be more than a one-day job?
If there's any large chunks left, and we may have to do some other cleanup, possibly set another charge.
The dynamite was buried primarily on the leeward side of the big mammal, so as most of the remains would be blown toward the sea. About 75 bystanders, most of them residents who had first found the whale to be an object of curiosity before they tired of its smell, were moved back a quarter of a mile away. The sand dunes there were covered with spectators and landlubber newsmen, shortly to become land blubber newsmen, for the blast blasted blubber beyond all believable bounds. Did you get a wow? Good? That was good.
All right, Fred, you can take your hands out of your ears. Here comes cases of
Our cameras stopped rolling immediately after the blast. The humor of the entire situation suddenly gave way to a run for survival as huge chunks of whale blubber fell everywhere. Pieces of meat passed high over our heads while others were falling at our feet. The dunes were rapidly evacuated as spectators escaped both the falling debris and the overwhelming smell. A parked car over a quarter of a mile from the blast site was the target of one large chunk. The passenger compartment literally smashed. Fortunately, no human was hit as badly as the car. However, everyone on the scene was covered with small particles of dead whale. As for the success of the effort, well, the seagulls who were supposed to clean things up were nowhere in sight, either scared away by the explosion or kept away by the smell. That didn't really matter. The remaining chunks were of such a size that no respectable seagull would attempt to tackle anyway. As darkness began to set in, the highway crews were back on the beach burying the remains, including a large piece of the carcass which never left the blast site. It might be concluded that should a whale ever wash ashore in Lane County again, those in charge will not only remember what to do, they'll certainly remember what not to do.
And yeah, you heard him. He just said it, that Oregon will know what not to do. It's funny. We kind of just talked about the future back there. Like I said earlier, they said specifically that they will not be blowing up the other whale. So we'll have to see how they dispose of this latest whale. Next story I wanted to talk to you about, and I kind of teased it at the beginning of this Digicast. We're going to have a different schedule tonight for K2, so that is because of the NBA Finals. You can see this is a hype video that ESPN put out yesterday. So let's talk about game one of the NBA Finals. We're excited. The Boston Celtics, they are playing the Dallas Mavericks over in Boston. So the Celtics are the favorite to win, but anything can happen. If the Celtics pull through, it's going to be their 18th championship. The Celtics are led by Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, coming off a 64-win regular season. The Mavericks are led by Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, and they have been the hottest team in the league since March. But it's not just the players getting attention, the head coaches are getting attention as well. So Celtics coach Joe Mazzulla, he is on his second year coaching the team, one of the youngest coaches to get to the playoffs since 1969. He's only 35 years old, and he is a graduate of my alma mater, West Virginia University. So a little biased there. Definitely is doing better as a coach than he did back as a player for WVU, but happy to see him doing well. Mavericks head coach Jason Kidd, he could not be any different. He's been an NBA coach for 8 years with some different teams. Kidd actually won an NBA championship with the Mavericks back in 2011 as a player, which I thought was pretty cool, pretty interesting. He also brought the Mavericks to the conference finals back in 2021. We are very excited about this. I want to show you K2's schedule, though, so you know exactly when to watch the NBA Finals. So let me get this up here on your screen. Oh, you know what? We are having some issues, so I'll just tell you. You don't need to see it. Game 1 coverage starts at 5, tip-off 5:30. We're going to have a different schedule, so 4 p.m. show, that's going to be normal. 5 p.m. is going to be digital. And then we're going to have an 8 p.m. show on air as well. So very different schedule, but definitely stay tuned. Just turn on ABC for the whole night. You can get all your news, all your NBA stuff. It's going to be great. And, of course, you can watch Emily's story about Jesse Calhoun. Have a great day, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.
This has been a K2 News Digicast. K2 News is on your side.